This is Father Andrew Ritchie, and you're listening to Catholic Inspiration, a podcast from my website at studyprayserve.com. These homilies, presentations, and retreats form part of my ministry as a Catholic priest for the Diocese of Superior. And now I invite you to open your hearts to some Catholic inspiration.
When I was 9 years old, my parents moved my sister and I from the country at a hobby farm out there. We came into town. And a year later, the lot right next to our house was purchased by David and Dorothy Kirshner. And they built a home there. And like anything, you brand new lot, so they had to open up everything. They built the house, and when they were finished, they had a basic bulldozer just kind of flatten out the backyard, that what would become their yard. And, left it. They said, we'll do the yard prep. David liked to do all the lawn keeping. But we'll do that. We'll take care of that. But if you just get it prepped for us. Well, getting it prepped meant that the bulldozer made it flat. But there was a crop of rocks in the backyard. And there was Dave and Dorothy looking at that 10-year-old neighbor boy right next door and cut me a deal. Hey, Andy, would you like to pick those rocks? We'll pay you. Oh. Well, I think they made a pretty good deal. But here's the thing. It was August, dog day weather, and I had one of those stiff garden rakes, and I raked the entire backyard to get all the big rock, and I would rake it out, and then I would take the row that I had formed because it got too heavy at a certain point, and I put that in a wheelbarrow and haul that away, and I was raking and hauling and raking and hauling and baking in the sun. And at one point I just kind of looked up and said, "Oh, this is hard." And from the porch they called out, "You're doing great." And I said, "I'm going to take a break." And I came in and got a couple of big glasses of ice water. And just was going, "This is really hard work." And my dad said, I know it's hard. My dad grew up on a farm. He knew about picking rock. But he said, "But son, look at what you've already done." And the point is that over half the yard had been done. He said, "You still got a lot to do, but you're over halfway there." And it was a moment where he just said, okay, there's still work and it's still going to be hard work, but you could see the end in sight. Gave you a little hope. And I finished the job, and it was one of those life lessons you learn about just keep going, hang in there, get it done. Yes, it's hard. And it serves well, right? Because picking rock, it's like detasseling corn or baling hay or shoveling snow or chipping ice, or pick any number of jobs that are not particularly pleasant, like weeding a garden of 2,000 pepper plants and going, "Oh, good Lord." But you got to do it, right? It's just part of the work, right? It's part of life, right? And it's part of spiritual life. That there are times when we will go through journeys, seasons that are hard. And we need hope. We need those moments where we can say, okay, the work has been done up to this point, or I can see the end in sight, or I know that there's a path forward. I know this will end. There are times in life, in our spiritual life, when we're feeling ground down, that we need a little encouragement, a little life, a little hope. That was what we have here in the Transfiguration. The disciples are with Jesus, and they're on their way to Jerusalem, and he's going to die. They're on their way to Calvary. They don't know what's coming. The Lord does. And as the Lord has been dropping hints about what's going to be encountered in Jerusalem, what they're going to face, as the Lord makes it clear that if you're going to be his disciple, you better pick up your own cross to follow him. The Lord's making it clear that the path is going to be hard. He doesn't in any way, shape, or form ever say it's easy. But in the Transfiguration, they get a glimpse of hope. They get to see Jesus as he is in heaven. Yeah, Moses and Elijah, two heavy hitters from the Old Testament. You have Jesus in his glory. And they don't understand, but they know that something extraordinary has happened. Something amazing. Something that can give them hope to face the challenges that they will have as they stand to see the Lord crucified. As they wait by that tomb. And folks, the hope that they're given here in the Transfiguration is the hope that I extend to all of us, that we remember and keep before us, because we're in the season of Lent, and in this season of penitential practice, of discipline, self-denial, of taking that time to really look hard and look carefully into our hearts, to recognize where sin is finding its path, to see wherever that darkness is lurking, to know that there are times that are hard. God gives us a hope that does not disappoint. And so today, if we're going to take this passage to heart, then we can pause for a moment and say, okay, Lord, where am I right now on the journey? What am I facing? What am I dealing with? What's before me? Because, Lord, I might need your help, your strength, and your hope so that I don't have to be afraid, but I can take the words to Jesus to heart, to cast out the fear and keep going, knowing that you're going to walk with me every step of the way, because you have something better in store. Tonight, we just pause. We're well launched into Lent. And maybe life is good right now, or maybe there's a challenge. But it's important to pause for a second. Look up to heaven. Call down help that only God can provide. That we know that we are not alone. But that as we journey through this life, God will give us the strength, the grace, the guidance we need to stay true to the path, to continue on in the journey until we reach that victory where Christ is forever transfigured in glory, where there is eternal life, where the hope that we hang on to here on earth is finally realized in its fullness in heaven. God bless you all.
This is Father Andrew, and I hope this podcast inspires your faith. Now, if you found it helpful, please share it with a friend. And you can help me by leaving a rating and a review. I keep all my listeners in my daily prayers, and I ask for your prayers in return. God bless you, my friends.